Good afternoon, and welcome to our next in the series of the Ergonauts Ergo Algo podcasts. Today, we are going to take another close look at ergonauts and ergonomics in general as the way that it's important to our workplace for our own health and safety and well being across the board. With me today is our co host, Earl-Ray Neal, who will be joining us here shortly as we progress. And our guest today is a special guest. He's the first one we've had in a while, a different group, and I want to introduce you to Dr. Mike Gladden, who is PhD in kinesiology, and he's an ergonaut and has a very long list of accomplishments and things to share with us today. So, with that, I will turn it over to you, Earl-Ray, and let's begin a discussion, a friendly discussion, on how all this impacts our lives at work and industry as we continue our journey with ergonauts.
Well, thank you very much, Jamie. I appreciate that introduction. And Dr. Gladden, on behalf of the ergonauts across the world, we are happy to have you. So, really interested in how you became, interested in your career field and how you got into lean ergonomics.
Okay, well, my bachelor's degree is in industrial engineering, industrial manufacturing. And when I got out of school, I actually went to work for the automotive industry and started out with General Motors. And that's when I started getting into understanding what ergonomics was about. I learned about it in college, really didn't pay a lot of attention to it at the time because I was more trying to get into time studies and things like that, which was what the major part of my degree was all about. And then once I got into the working world, time studies were important, but then we started to look at what the work was actually doing to the workers. And that's what the whole uh, crutch of ergonomics is about, is designing that workplace to fit the workers so they can do their job successfully without injury, without illness. So it took me a couple of years of being in the industry as a time study expert to get into understanding how ergonomics impacted my job overall. And then I slowly started to move towards that, being a pure ergonomist. And that was way back in the 70s. And after that, it just went from there.
And as a matter of fact, you're one of the original ergonauts, as I understand it, from our
Yeah,
chief.
yeah, I was one of the original guys that Steve got down in Davis Hollow, and we started doing some things with ergonomics and trying to help people understand what this long nasty word was about, because everybody had their own vision of what ergonomics was and didn't really understand it.
So there's actually, and we're not ready to talk about the specifics just yet, but we're working on some exciting things. The Ergo Algo platform is actually designed on the lean principle. So if you want to talk a little bit about your experience with the lean principles
Okay,
and
the lean side of my job started when I went to work for Toyota. I was the ergonomist for Toyota Motor Manufacturing in Kentucky, and that's when I learned all about the Toyota Motors manufacturing system. And the basic part of their system is lean, and lean is basically taking is ergonomics on steroids, if you want to call it that. It's taking all of the fluff out of everything you do, taking all of the horror, all of the terror out of everything you do, and trying to make your work environment very efficient, very effective.
so as you've seen ergonomics develops really since the 70s, do you have any advice that you'd like to give those who are considering ergonomics as a profession?
Ergonomics is a very bold profession, and if you can get your mind out of the fact that you're just a pure manufacturing engineer and help to understand what the job that you design does to the worker, it can be a very productive field, a very effective field. And myself and other ergonomists, I think we get a lot of value and a lot of success out of the things that we do work for the people that we do it for. Because there's no better feeling than to go into a workplace that has been killing people for the most part, and fixing that workplace so that anybody can go into that workplace and do a job, do it every day, and go home happy, and not have to think about the idea that they're going to work for 3 or 4 months and then they're going to have fibromyalgia. They're going to have tendonitis or some of the many other what we call ergonomic injuries that people see or that people get put out of work for on workers' comp.
That's one of the things that we're most excited about the Ergo-Algo platform. You were a major contributor to that. And we feel like that for a little investment up front, employers can keep folks off workers' comp. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I totally agree with that. And that's the thing that employers have to look at when they're using the platform is this whole thing with the platform is trying to develop and design these workstations, these work areas, so that your people can come to work and go home in as good a condition as they came there. And you want them to be successful. You want them to be there for long periods of time. I mean, you think about when we were kids, our parents, their goal was to work for 30 or 40 years and then retire. Nowadays, nobody works 30 years because they're getting put out on injury. So you're typically seeing people only working for 10 or 15 years, and then they got to go find some other job because their bodies are so broken that they can't continue to do the work that they do, especially if it's a heavy manufacturing type environment. And people typically think heavy manufacturing, but this applies to any work environment, whether it's someone building a car, a nurse in a hospital, a person working in an office. It can be any environment where a person has to use their body to do work can have impact that can be made by applying good ergonomics to the workplace.
And folks, this is advice coming from the person at the UK College of Engineering Lean Systems program has called the #1 ergonaut in the automotive industry. So we're just really excited to have you. You were talking a little bit about the workforce and how that's changing. What impact do you see that that generation we call the baby boomers with those folks retiring at a rate of 1 every 8 seconds? How do you see the Ergo-Algo platform helping with that population?
I think as we start to apply Ergo-Algo to workstations, people will find, employers especially, and medical professionals will find that people are more able, more capable of being able to do their jobs if we can go in and make the adjustments and make the changes to the workstations that are generated by the platform. Because again, if we look back 30 years, people worked and worked. You go back to the early 2000s and people were looking for excuses to get away from work. So that's when your workers' comp claims really started going up. That's when things like fibromyalgia hit. And when a doctor couldn't diagnose or couldn't fix what it was that you had fibromyalgia, and now you're going out on permanent disability. And taking and applying the concepts that you get from Ergo-Algo and making the changes to the workstation, looking at your person that you're employing as a benefit to your environment, that's going to make a big difference. Companies can't keep paying, for 30, 40% of their population to be going out on comp every year. It's just, it's not, you can't afford it.
Doctor, we sure appreciate your time today. And before we sign off, I want to remind everybody that today's episode has been brought to you by LilyPad Work Solutions. You can visit those folks at www.lilypad.com. And let me tell you, the first time that you go to that website, you're going to be in for a treat. You'll get to see all the features and benefits of having a versatile an adjustable ergonomic workstation. It's unlike really anything else I've ever seen. There's no assembly required. You can move it around and roll it. You can sit at it. You can stand behind it. It's really your choice. It even fits under a bed, in a couch, or in a closet. So go over and visit our friends at lilypad.com to check out the features and benefits of the most ergonomic workstation available. It's going to be unlike anything that you've ever seen in that arena. Jamie, it looks like we've almost got another one wrapped up for the books.
Yep.
What are your thoughts?
Well, it's every time I sit down, I see new things that really come to light, and primarily the focus of how to improve workplace safety and worker well-being. And as one that kind of probably should have done a lot better with my own personal ergonomics over a lifetime, it really means a lot to me now because I can look from my 62 years of age and a long career and say, if I'd have done that differently, and if we can help people understand that and help employers understand that, not only are we going to reduce costs of workers' comp, that's secondary. Most important is we're going to make people's lives better. We're going to make them
Yes.
healthy and happy and in a good place. And that's going to improve productivity. That's going to improve everything that we try to do as a country, whether it's manufacturing or, like you say, any field at all. And I think maybe sometimes I always thought there was my woodworking that and manufacturing kind of things that I've done that caused my problems, but really it's maybe just as much typing at a keyboard every day improperly.
Mhm.
We don't think about those things. We
Nope.
don't think about those at all. So I really, really appreciate your time, and I appreciate
I
your.
think we ought to ask him back. He said something. I think we should do one whole show on stories from Davis Holler, and we can get. What do you think? We get Mike.
I,
Will you come
I
back for that one?
I don't know if I tell you guys that I'm going to have to shoot you, man. I don't know about that.
Thanks. We really appreciate your time.
We do. Thank you
All
very
right.
much for being with us, and hopefully you'll continue to join us as other discussions come up on our ergonomic algo webinar. I'm still struggling with my language on that one, getting it straight, but atomic ergo, and hopefully you'll be part of that in the future and join us again for another one. And hopefully others of you will join us as we continue this discussion on ergonomics and ergonauts and the way that we hope to change the world and make the workplace a much better and happier place for everyone involved. Thank you again. Thank you everyone for being with us, and
Thank
have a
you.
great day.